How many of you, that was you this morning getting ready for church? Yeah, I know it's some of you. There's no doubt. I saw the silly string on you when you walked in. We are going to be talking for the next few weeks about some things that I hear around here all of the time. Most of the time when I'm talking to people, I hear three words that kind of describes most of our lives. It's overscheduled. I hear that a lot. I've got so many things to do, so many places to be, kids' activities, all the things going on in your life. You're overscheduled. I hear the words overwhelmed. A lot of times we're overwhelmed to the point of not knowing what to do next. We kind of just get in a state of just shock because we just can't figure out our next move. And then the word I hear most of all is the word exhausted. I'm exhausted. I've never met a parent that didn't tell me they were exhausted. Now, I just got back from Alaska, so I'm not exhausted. I'm not overwhelmed. I went on what my son says, an old people trip. That's all right. That's all right. I don't care what you call it. It was incredible. And we saw some of the beauty. You can see there's just one picture of thousands that we saw. It was an incredible place. And the thing that it did for me while I was there is Abraham Lincoln had a quote. He said, when you look at man and the way we treat each other, it's understandable why you don't believe in God. But when you look at that and you see the mountains and you see the grandeur and you see the majesty of the world God created, it's hard not to believe in a God. And so there's a lot of times that I spent time just staring up at that stuff and going, God, you're amazing. You're amazing. Now that fills me up. That gives me energy. That is an incredible thing for me. That may not be your thing. That may be the last thing you want to do. You know, I took a friend with me. Mike French was with me, and Mike's looking at stuff like this is like, got it. What's next? I mean, that was him. Everybody's different. When I got back, man, I came back and we had something called Vacation Bible Experience going on. You talk about coming back to a madhouse. There are over 1,000 kids in this room and the other room and 250 volunteers and there's people running everywhere. And we put this splash pad out here. I had no idea that 200 people a day would be out there. It was just bedlam when I got back and I thought, I want to go back to Alaska. But I do appreciate all the work that was done. I know here you got to hear Chase give a word from God. Over in Ennis, you got to hear your campus pastor, Zach Wright, and they did an incredible job. It is so great to have those guys on staff. So when I'm gone, I know what you're getting is going to be something that the Holy Spirit can use in your life. And I just appreciate them. What I want to do for the next few weeks, though, is talk about you. I want to get you ready for the next season of your life. I want you to get you ready for the next semester of school. I want to get ready for whatever is next in your life. And the summer is a great time to do that. Now, I know for most of you, this summer is just as busy as every other time, right? Unless you're 9 years old, the summer's not boring. If you're 9, the summer's boring, but if not, there's so much to do. And so I want us to take a deep breath and I want us to look at how Jesus interacted with people like us. How Jesus interacted, there's one story in the Bible where he encounters an overscheduled, an overwhelmed, and exhausted person. And I want you to hear how he handles that situation, how he talks to this person, and how he explains the most important thing they can do to keep from being overwhelmed, exhausted, and overscheduled. And so give me a little background. First of all, you got to know that during Jesus' 3-year ministry, he had a lot of people following him. A lot of times we get the picture of Jesus walking through the wilderness with 12 guys behind him, you know, but that's not the way it was. Jesus was a rock star in his day. Everybody wanted to be around Jesus. Everybody crowded around Jesus. In fact, there were some times that the crowd pushed down the hill so much that he had to get in a boat and get off the shore to keep from being trampled because everybody wanted to get near this guy. Now, why did they want to get near him? Number one, he was an incredible storyteller. No TV, no radio. He told incredible stories that people wanted to hear. Number two, he confronted religious people and called out their hypocrisy. That's always fun. You know what I'm saying? That's always a good time. So they wanted that, but not only that, he did miracles. He did incredible things. I mean, his first miracle, and some of you are going to like this way too much. He took a bunch of water jugs, water barrels, and turned it into a Chardonnay. I mean, yeah, don't woo-hoo that. We got a Baptist background here. Let's be quiet. I mean, he made these big old barrels of wine, and I always love that. We say, that was grape juice. No, that was wine. Anyway, he did that. And then he took a Happy Meal and fed 20,000 people. Now that's impressive. And who doesn't like free food, right? Everybody likes free food. It's an amazing thing. And so then, if that's not enough, there were blind people that he touched and they could see. People that couldn't walk could walk. And then he took it a step further. There were dead people that came out of the grave. Jesus was a rock star. Everybody wanted to be around him. Everybody wanted something from him. Now remember, they were all following him for what they could get. They were looking for that next free meal. They were looking for that next story. They were looking for that next miracle. They all wanted something from Jesus. And although Jesus was God, he was also a man when he walked this earth. And so he had the same things in his life that we have. When people want something and want something and want something, it drains us. So Jesus, just like us being drained, would take some time out of his ministry and he would separate himself from the crowds. Now, when he was in Galilee, a lot of times they talked about he would go off into the wilderness, he'd get away, he'd do all kinds of things to be alone. But when he was in the Jerusalem area, it said he went to one place. There was a place right outside of Jerusalem called Bethany. It's still there. There was a home there owned by Lazarus, a lady, his sisters named Martha and Mary. And they were wealthy people. They had a nice house. And because they followed Jesus and loved Jesus and Jesus was a special friend to them, they prepared in their home a guest room. And Jesus could use this guest room, of course, whenever he wanted it. And so when the pressure got tough and when people kept demanding of him and he needed a break, he would go to Martha and Mary's house with his disciples and they would just chill and relax and he would re-energize himself. Well, in Luke 10, we're going to read one of these examples where Jesus happened upon Martha and Mary's house. He needed a break, needed some time off, and I want you to see what happened. You can read in the Bible, if you have it, in Luke chapter 10. You can read on your device or we'll put it on the screen. I just want you to hear the story in the text and see what happens. It says, as Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. She had a sister called Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he was saying. But Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. Now, I get this, don't you? I mean, she's got 13 people coming to her house. Do you know what happens at my house when one person says they're coming over unexpectedly? Do you have any idea? I mean, somebody calls and says, hey, we're in the neighborhood, we're gonna stop by. My wife turns into the Tasmanian devil. She's whirling around that house, giving me orders. Pick that up, put that up, make sure that's done. Shut that door, nobody goes in there. I mean, she's giving me all these instructions because one person is stopping by. I can't imagine telling her 13 people are on the way and it's dinner time. I'm pretty sure her head would just explode. Okay, well, that's the situation Martha's in. Martha, who is a type A personality, who I think are the best people in the world, by the way. Just a little, that's free. Type A personality, a person that loves to get things done, a person that schedules, a person that is just got it all down. You know, the sick people that will write something on their list just so they can mark it out because they've already done it. That's Martha, right? So somebody laughed too loud. All these people, Jesus shows up. So Martha goes in immediately into the mode, I got to get things ready. She heads to the kitchen. She starts getting things ready. She's in there working. She's seeing, what do I have? What do I need to go get? How am I going to feed all these people? Where's everybody going to sleep? I need to get some sheets. I need to get some bedding made. So she is busy, busy, busy. And she looks out of the corner of her eye and guess what her sister's doing? Nothing. Sitting in the living area, listening to Jesus. Now, you have a sister, some of you, right? What would you do? I can tell you what my mom did when we were sitting in the living area doing nothing and she was working. My mom would start shutting cabinets a little louder than necessary. Stage one. We ignored that. There were 3 of us, by the way, me, my brother, and my dad. And we'd be watching TV on Saturday or doing something while she was cleaning. Stage 1, bang. Stage 2, plates would rattle a little louder than they should. Stage 3, pans would start banging together very loudly. Stage 4, she would begin to cry. That's when we got up and helped. It was just, that's the way we did it. We know, hey, well, she's not crying yet. We're good. We got 5-10 minutes. I know it's horrible. It's just the way it was. Well, Martha's in there. She's banging pans. She's trying to make all the catch her eye. She's trying to say, hey, we got a lot to do. You need to get in here. So finally, she gets so perturbed that she goes to Jesus. She says, Mary's distracted. She came to him and she says, Lord, don't you care that my sister's left me to do all the work by myself? Tell her to help me. Man, she went straight to the boss. It's kind of funny. She walked up to Jesus. I could see a cooking spoon in her hand. You know what I'm saying? Jesus, don't you care that she's not helping me? Tell her to get in there. I love Jesus' response. His response could have been, do you know you're talking to the Son of God? You might want to back up. But that's not what he said. He looked at her with compassion and said, Martha, Martha, you're worried and upset about many things. He didn't condemn her. He didn't say she was doing anything wrong. She wasn't. He just said, there's so much in your mind. There's so many things. Your mind is a whirlwind. There's so many things you got to do, so many things you got to schedule, so many things you got to get done. Your mind is just filled with your to-do list. Because you're just worried and upset. But only a few things are needed. Hey, only a few things are needed. Do you think I came here for a 5-star meal? If I want something to eat, I can turn rocks into bread, honey. And you already see what I do with water. I mean, you don't need to worry about all that stuff. I can take care of that. I came here for another reason. And I want you to hear this. There's indeed only one. Few things are needed. Indeed, only one thing. And Mary's chosen it. And I'm not going to take it away from her. So he's looking at this type A, overscheduled, overwhelmed, exhausted person, and he's saying, listen, I know your mind has so many things right now in it, but there's only one thing that's needed. There's only one thing that's needed. Take a deep breath and talk to me. Take a deep breath. Let's have a conversation. I want to talk about your life. I want to share with you what's going on in my life. I want to have conversation with you. It's a relationship that we're in here, and I want to talk about our relationship. I want you just to spend some time with me. Now, folks, I just gave you the key to an overwhelmed, exhausted life. That's the number one thing you need to do if you find yourself stressed, if you find yourself overwhelmed. And some of you aren't going to get it because you see, you think spending time with God is how I used to think when I was a young man. When I first came in with my type A personality, I thought a quiet time meant getting up an hour early while it's dark, getting my 5-pound study Bible, going into the closet with a bunch of books, looking through everything, highlighting, memorizing, writing out sermons or writing out prayers, and it was work. And I thought that's what a quiet time was. As I grew older, I realized all God wants with us is just a conversation. He just wants a conversation. And so sometimes now, that time in the morning, I don't even get out of bed. I just start talking to him. We just talk. There's times I'll grab my phone and read a verse. Times I don't. But I just spend time. And I'm telling you, it changes the course of your day if you start in relationship to God. Now, I'm talking mainly to people in this room who say they're followers. If you're not a follower, you don't get that. I understand it. You can think that I'm delusional. You can think that I'm weak. You can think I'm leaning on something. Whatever you want to say about it, I know this, it works. It does something incredible. Yeah, you've got meditation, you got yoga, you got all that, but I'm just telling you, I don't see much in that. I really don't. It's not about being quiet. It's not about meditating. It's about a relationship with a loving God who wraps his arms around you during that time and just whispers to you, it's okay. It's okay. And so he looks at Martha, and says, listen, Mary's doing the right thing. Mary's doing the right thing. Just take a deep breath, sit down. You're worried and upset about so many things. I want you to simply talk with me. There's so many things occupying your mind. There's so many things that need to be done. You're churned up inside, and yes, these things need to be completed, but the best thing you can do right now is not finishing what's in the kitchen, but just stopping for a minute and having a conversation. When your life is hectic and there's so much to do, the best thing you can do is let it go for a minute and go spend some time with God. Now, I have to push this point so much because I want you to understand it. 15 minutes a day, quietly in conversation with God, will change your life. That's the best thing you can do. I want to say it this way. I want you to understand, 15 minutes can restore you. It can energize you. It can just give you the energy that you're looking for. How many of you today, don't raise your hand, how many of you in here today would say that you're overwhelmed, you're overscheduled, and you're exhausted? How many of you could say that? Do you think that a sincere conversation, unrushed with Jesus who loves you, do you think that might help you? Do you think Jesus was right when he told Mary her only hope in dealing with her anger toward her sister, her only hope for her overdeveloped sense of responsibility, her only hope for driving herself to absolute exhaustion was to pull up a chair, unplug from the business, and start a conversation with the one who could restore her busy heart? Let me ask you a follow-up question. When you're overwhelmed, when you're overscheduled and exhausted, what do? What is your antidote? What ideas come to your mind? I like to picture it like a bucket in your life. And listen, no matter what you do in your life, people are taking from you. They're not evil. It's just what happens. It's just the way it's set up. I learned early in my ministry that the church, if I let it, would kill me. They would. They would use me. I'd die, they'd go get another one. That's it. Very replaceable. That's what your children are doing to you, by the way. They're just using you. Everybody is using you. Everybody wants something from you. And there's no point in getting angry at that. That's just a fact of life. And so when your bucket starts getting low, it is your responsibility to fill it up. It's not somebody else's. I'm not getting what I need from my marriage. I'm not getting what I need from my work. None of that matters. It's up to you. You're responsible to fill your bucket up. You're responsible to replenish yourself, refresh yourself, and that starts by having conversation, communication with Jesus Christ. If you're not in a relationship today, I know you don't understand that. But I'm talking to those of you that are exhausted that know Jesus, because there's no point. Now, there's all periods. About November this past year, man, I had a large hole put in the bottom of my bucket. And I felt myself being drained. I could sense it. I could feel myself going into depression. I mean, you can feel it if you've ever been there. And I began to look at that and I began to understand. And I have some signs that I know that my bucket is empty. The first sign that my bucket is empty is pretty much everybody around me turns into an idiot. Don't judge me. Don't judge me. You understand it. If you have my personality, you know when things get bad, the person in front of you in the car, the person in front of you in the line, the person on the phone, everybody's an idiot. Everybody, it's how it feels. Now, if you don't believe that, you learn one day. I'm just telling you, that's just the way it is for me. Everybody is wrong. Everybody does everything wrong. The second thing I do is I start working a lot harder. I start working. Man, I put my nose down. I'm working hard. I'm figuring out things to make it harder. How can I make my work as hard as possible? That way I'll be distracted and I can just work. That's one of my go-tos. Another go-to for me is I start eating really good, but you'd call it really bad. You know what I'm saying? It's good food. It just ain't good for you. I kind of give up the turkey and whole wheat and go for the double cheeseburger. That's just part of it. And then the other thing I give up is that annoying thing called exercise. And I know some of you, I just love to go to the gym. Yeah, I love to get a cavity filled. I don't love to go to the gym. I go to the gym because I have to. That's the only thing. And so all of those things start getting out of whack. And if I let it at that point, if I don't do some things to fill that bucket back up, I'm going to be in a bad place in a short amount of time. Now listen to me, because a lot of you are in that bad place. You've got a big hole in the bottom of your bucket, and you keep expecting somebody else to fill it up. You keep expecting your marriage to fill it up, or your children to fill it up, or your work to fill it up, or some of you are escaping into alcohol, into drugs, into sex, into anything you can find to try to fill that bucket up. But I want you to know, the only person that can fill it up is you. And the first step, the only way to replenish is have a connection to God. Have a connection to God. Start there. I'm asking you for the rest of the summer to just give God 15 minutes a day. 15 minutes. 15 minutes. It's great in the morning. But whenever you can find it, give him 15 minutes. The second thing that can bring joy and can really replenishes me is my family. I love being around my family. Some of you know that's what's draining. I get it. I have grandchildren. It's different. They're not trying to kill me. I just enjoy them. But children can be a blessing to your life, and they can fill you up. They're a gift from God, and you need to enjoy your family like Martha. It's not about getting everything done. It's about letting your 4-year-old interrupt you while you're trying to get dinner done and show you their drawing. It's about enjoying your family. Now, for some of you, you have some relationships in your family that need to be fixed. You need a phone call. You need an apology. You need to go to their home. Say, listen, our relationship's been draining. I don't want that anymore. Life is way too short. Another thing that brings joy and can help replenish you is your work. Now, I'm not saying that work's not tiresome. It should be tired. But the Bible tells us in Ecclesiastes 5:18, it's good and proper for a person to find satisfaction in their labor. And so I want to challenge you today. You need to be working in a job that brings you satisfaction. Now hear me, because a lot of you are like, oh man, I just have a job so I can live for the weekend and make money. Listen, that's a hard way to live. If you don't love what you do, if when you get up in the morning, you are drained thinking about going to that job, I'm challenging you today, find a new job. I'm like, well, that's easy for you. Well, I didn't say it'd be easier for you either. I'm just saying life's too short to hate what you do in life. So take some night school classes. Learn a trade, do something, change careers. If you're miserable and work drains you, doesn't give you some fulfillment, you need to find work that brings you satisfaction. You need to find some recreation. What do you like to do? Now, that's different for every person in the room. That's why I said it's an individual responsibility. I remember early on, some people tried to get me to play golf because it was relaxing. Golf is a good walk ruined. Nothing relaxing about golf. So then some other people said, well, you need to try fishing. Are you kidding me? Draining, tangled line. It was the most annoying thing I've ever done. Now, here's the thing. Golf for you may be refreshing. Good. You don't have to like something I like. I don't have to like what you like. Fishing may be the greatest thing in the world. I've had people say, man, I love to go fishing even if I don't catch nothing. Dummy, you weren't fishing then. Just standing by the lake, moron. It may be camping. It may be reading a book. It may be taking a day and laying by the pool. It may be going and watching your favorite movie and then sneaking in and no, not really. Going back through buying a ticket and watching another movie. I don't know what it is that refreshes you. That's not important. It's not important that you do the things that people around you say. It's what refreshes you. What makes you feel good. And then there's one, I really feel like a hypocrite saying it right now, but exercise is important. Exercise is important. You need those cavities filled, is all I got to say. And for those of you that don't exercise, you got to find out something. You got to do that. Your body has to have that. Even if it's take a walk, whatever it is, you got to get into some kind of exercise program to replenish you. And it sounds counterproductive. I'm beat when I exercise. I'm tired. But it will bring energy. It will make you feel better in the long run. Not a long run, but in the long run. you will feel better. So I'm asking you today to replenish yourself. It's powerful what God can do. It's powerful what God can do with just 15 minutes. Some of you just need to raise your hand today and say, God, I need you. God, I need you in my life. I need to spend time with you. I need you to replenish my life. Some of you need to make some apologies to family and put their relationships back in order. Some of you need to find a job that brings you satisfaction. Get something recreational and start some kind of exercise. Now today, I'm going to end the service a little different. I want you to spend some minutes with God in the next few. Music's going to be playing. I want you to spend 2 or 3 minutes talking to God. You can even talk to the person next to you if it's appropriate. And I want you to tell them where you are right now. Where's your tank? On a scale from 1 to 10, where would you say you are? And be honest. Are you 2? Are you 8? Are you negative 937? Where are you today? Is your tank full? Be honest. Have a little conversation about that. Tell the person next to you what number yours is. Then maybe start brainstorming. What are some things I need to do to replenish my life? What can I do? What are the things I need to do more of? Just name them. What are some things that you need to work on a little? I believe the Holy Spirit can work if you let him. Then my challenge, 15-minute conversation with the one who loves you and knows you best. 15 minutes a day. Take a deep breath, Martha. Leave the things undone in the kitchen. Come and sit down. The only way to restore your frantic heart, your overscheduled life, your overwhelmed, exhausted, the only way to fix that is have a conversation. Father God, I pray you'll give people creativity today on what could be good for them to replenish them. What needs to start pouring life into them? God, give them a sense that it's their responsibility, that no one can do it for them. God, help them to know that this is their life and they need to do what they need to do. Give people that sense of responsibility. God, as we all start filling back up this week, help us to know we're on the right path. We'll give you all the credit in Jesus' name.